Hey, welcome back. In this short video, I could literally save you thousands of dollars or euros or pounds or pesos or shillings or whatever by helping you avoid buying the wrong lenses as you start your digital photography journey. There is nothing more expensive in photography than having to repurchase something like a camera lens because you chose wrong in the first place. But it's difficult to know how to choose well when you're just getting started. As a photography teacher, this is a topic that I get asked about often, so I'll be discussing the two lenses that I most frequently recommend to new photographers. But don't be mistaken, I'm sure there's plenty of experienced shooters out there who will find both of these two lenses extremely useful and super versatile, as I do myself. And after watching this video, you just might feel like you need a lot less gear than you thought you did in order to level up your photography game. By the way, I've got 2 additional money-saving tips coming at you, so stick around and don't miss those. Okay, so 2 great lenses to rule them all. Let's dive in. Okay, these 2 lenses that I want to discuss today are my favorites for several reasons. I think they'll cover most of your photography needs in the different situations that you find yourself shooting. They're not highly specialized, but they are both extremely versatile. And as far as lenses go, they don't need to cost a ton, but more on that later. Also, let me put your mind at ease by saying that this is not specific advice for Canon or Nikon or Sony photographers, because these 2 lenses are actually available from the majority of camera brands out there. In fact, that's just market proof that both of these lenses have been a hit. They continue to sell well, and they may in fact be perfect for you too. All right, so first up, we have the 24 to 105 millimeter f4 zoom lens. And there are 3 major benefits of this lens, but the headline benefit of the 24 to 105 millimeter zoom is its amazing versatility. And that's why you see me shooting with it in so many of our Viewfinder Mastery lessons and courses. With a broad range of focal lengths from the wide angle end at 24 millimeters all the way up to the medium telephoto setting of 105, you can easily adjust your zoom setting, your composition, and even the type of shot that you're going for without having to change lenses. And this is especially useful when you're on the move and you're trying to keep things as simple as possible and you don't want to carry a bunch of different lenses. Plus, when the weather is challenging, this can be a major advantage since you have a lot of different composition possibilities without needing to take your lens off the camera while it's snowing or raining or while you have a lot of dust blowing around, for example. Or if I'm going to be shooting a variety of different subjects, for example, while traveling, or if I have a limited amount of space in my backpack, then this is the lens that's going with me. One of the very cool things about the 24 to 105 millimeter zoom is that it's offered across a wide variety of camera brands. Canon and Sony both have one, and if you're shooting Nikon, it'll be a 24 to 120 millimeter instead of 105, which is just as good. If you're shooting an APS-C format camera, then look for something that goes from about 17 millimeters up to 70 millimeters. I know there's a great one available from Tamron, or if you're on the Micro Four Thirds system, you'll find a great Olympus lens that goes from 12 millimeters up to 100, which is a bit more like a 24 to 200 in full frame terms. Close enough. There's an option out there for everyone, and what's common among all these similar lenses is their constant maximum aperture of f4, and that is key. Yes, there are mega super duper zooms out there on the market which cover an even wider zoom range, but most of those do not have a constant f4 maximum aperture, which is a major benefit of the 24 to 105. The moderate range of this lens is an advantage from a light gathering perspective, and other zooms with broader ranges like 18 millimeters to 300 or whatever are not as capable as the 24 to 105 when photographing in dim lighting conditions. The more light that you can get into your camera's sensor, the higher your image quality is going to be. And compared to other lenses that can only open up to f5.6, for example, the 24 to 105 will let you shoot at a lower ISO, helping your image quality in a really big way. And speaking of, with that f4 maximum aperture, you'll be getting softer, more defocused backgrounds, and because it's a constant f4 aperture, your widest aperture isn't going to be changing on you as you zoom the lens in toward the telephoto end. Such a huge bonus. For the beginners out there, the 24-105 zoom is great for getting oriented to different focal lengths, and this lens will help you become familiar with different zoom settings. Because it's so handy in a wide variety of situations, it would definitely be the lens to own if you had to just choose one. And if you're just getting started, the less is more philosophy in photography is definitely the way to go. Hey, before we talk about lens number 2, we've got a very handy and totally free top 10 photography purchases guide waiting for you over at our website, viewfindermastery.com. This list is loaded with all of my top recommendations for gear items that won't break the bank, but are certain to help you accelerate your photography learning. There's a few PDFs in that pop-out list over here on the right, so follow the link to viewfindermastery.com and grab your free photography PDFs today. Okay, now let's move on to lens number 2, the 50mm fixed lens. The headline feature of the fixed 50mm lens is its wide maximum aperture. Usually a 50mm lens will open up to f1.8 or 1.4, which means that it can gather up a lot of light, making it ideal for shooting in low light conditions. Now, it has no zoom, so you'll need to zoom with your feet, but this is an awesome exercise, and if you've never shot with a fixed or prime lens, then be prepared for an interesting challenge. Many people find that the limiting nature of fixed lenses causes them to compose their shots with more care. The Nifty 50, as it's often called, is also a stellar portrait lens because of that wide maximum aperture, which can blur out your background, helping shift attention onto your subject and away from hectic elements in the background. The 50mm lens is also super compact, and the image quality out of these fixed lenses is usually a little bit better than that of a zoom. This lens is available from many different brands, including Canon and Nikon and Sony and many others. You may notice though that there's a wide range of prices amongst 50mm lenses, depending on how wide their widest maximum apertures are. You could pay as much as $1,500 for a 50mm lens that opens up to f1.2, but in my humble opinion, that is totally overrated. My strong recommendation, especially if you're on a budget or you're just getting started in photography, is to go for a thrifty 50 with a maximum aperture of f1.8. That's what I use, and I have no complaints. Mine is actually a 55mm, there's really not much difference there, and I can tell you that this lens is crispy sharp, and I love those defocused, soft backgrounds. Plus, the fact that it's so small and compact makes it really easy to travel with. So here's my quick take on both of these amazing lenses. As you've seen, they're both fantastic, they're both high performing, and if you're anything like me, they'll both probably serve you well for years to come. That said, I think that the 24-105 f4 zoom lens is going to be the more versatile of the two and probably the better place to start for most people. This lens allows you to just get out there and start experimenting with everything from landscapes and street photography to travel and everything in between, and that's why it is so great. And while the 50mm lens isn't necessarily a specialized lens, it's going to be a little better suited for people who are doing people shots and portraits where you want that super blurry background and when you don't mind being challenged by the lack of a zoom range. Even though their focal lengths overlap in the middle, there is no comparing the different looks that you get from these two lenses. Either way, you can't go wrong, and having both would be even better. And hey, here's another money-saving tip for you, as promised. If you want to save a little cash, shop around on the used sites because both of these lenses can be purchased secondhand for about half the price that you would pay in the shops. Make sure that your seller has a good reputation if it's an auction site, or that the lens has passed inspection if you're buying it from a used gear retailer. And hey, if you've already been using a 24-105mm zoom lens or a fixed 50mm lens, let us know how well they're working out for you down in the comments below. Okay, that's gonna do it for this video. I just felt like sharing a little gear advice with you today, and if you found this helpful, I sure would appreciate if you would hit that like button and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Don't forget about those free PDFs that are waiting for you over at viewfindermastery.com. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.